What happens when Britain's most controversial royal sights down with television's most unfiltered host? You won't believe what unfolds when Prince Harry faces off against Sharon Osbourne in what started as a seemingly cordial interview but quickly descended into one of the most explosive confrontations in daytime television history. The tension was palpable from the moment Harry walked onto the View set, but nobody could have predicted the nuclear meltdown that was about to occur. Before we get into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, because you won't want to miss a second of this dramatic clash. Last night's episode of The View was supposed to be a platform for Prince Harry to discuss his latest charitable endeavors and upcoming projects. The producers had briefed the panel that this would be a straightforward conversation about his work with veterans and mental health advocacy. What they got instead was a masterclass in how quickly things can spiral completely out of control when Sharon Osbourne decides she's had enough of what she perceives as royal hypocrisy. The atmosphere backstage was already charged before filming began. Sources close to the production revealed that Harry's team had submitted an extensive list of off-limits topics, including any discussion of his father, King Charles, his stepmother, Queen Camilla, or the ongoing rift with his brother, Prince William. They had also specifically requested that there be no mention of the Netflix documentary series or the tell-all memoir that had caused so much controversy. Sharon, however, had other plans entirely. As Harry settled into his seat, adjusting his tie with what appeared to be nervous energy, Sharon's eyes never left him. Her co-hosts exchanged subtle glances, sensing the electricity in the air. The show's opening segment proceeded normally, with pleasantries exchanged and Harry discussing his foundation's work with wounded veterans. His responses were measured, diplomatic, and carefully crafted, exactly what his media training had prepared him for. But Sharon was watching, waiting, and calculating her next move with the precision of a seasoned predator. "It's wonderful to hear about your charity work, Harry," Sharon began, her voice deceptively sweet as she leaned forward. "Really admirable, but I have to ask, and I think our viewers deserve to know, how do you reconcile this public image of caring for veterans with what many see as your complete abandonment of your own military family back home?" The question hit like a thunderbolt. Harry's carefully composed expression flickered for just a moment, revealing a flash of irritation before he regained his composure. The other host shifted uncomfortably, recognizing that Sharon had just crossed the line Harry's team had carefully drawn. But this was exactly what Sharon had planned from the moment she learned about the interview. "That's quite an unfair characterization, Sharon," Harry replied, his British accent sharpening as stress levels rose. "My commitment to veterans has never wavered, regardless of geographical boundaries or family circumstances." Sharon laughed sharply, a cutting sound. "Geographical boundaries, family circumstances, that's quite the euphemism for turning your back on everything you once stood for, isn't it?" She shuffled through her notes with theatrical precision, as if preparing for this moment for months. "Let me refresh your memory about some of those family circumstances you're so casually dismissing." The tension in the studio was unbearable. Camera operators zoomed in on Harry's face, capturing every micro-expression as Sharon continued her relentless assault. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, and his hands, once casually resting on the chair arms, now gripped them with white-knuckled intensity. "You served your country with honor for 10 years, Sharon continued, her voice gaining momentum like a train building speed. "You worked alongside brave men and women who bled for the crown you've now decided to trash at every opportunity. These people looked up to you, respected you, followed you into battle, and now you're sitting here in a Hollywood studio cashing checks from Netflix while throwing those same institutions under the bus." Harry's media training was being tested to the extreme. Every instinct told him to fight back, but he knew losing his temper on live television would only prove Sharon's point. "My service record speaks for itself," Harry said, his voice steady but carrying an underlying current of barely controlled anger. "I've never forgotten my brothers and sisters in arms, and I never will. What I have done is choose to speak truth to power, something that apparently makes people very uncomfortable." "Truth to power?" Sharon's voice dripped with sarcasm as she turned to the audience. "Is that what we're calling it now?" "Let me tell you about truth, Harry. The truth is, you had everything, absolutely everything, handed to you on a silver platter, and you threw it all away because you couldn't handle a little criticism from the British press." Harry's composure began to crack. His breathing became shallow. A muscle in his cheek twitched almost imperceptibly. "You have no idea what you're talking about," he said. "You have no understanding of what my family went through, what my wife endured, or the impossible position we were put in by an institution that cares more about protecting its image than protecting the people who serve it." Sharon's eyes lit up with the satisfaction of someone who had just landed a perfect blow. "Your wife? Oh, you mean the woman who married into the most privileged family on earth and then spent the next few years complaining about how difficult her life was. The same woman who claimed the royal family was racist while conveniently forgetting to mention any specific names or incidents that could actually be verified." The studio fell into deadly silence. Even the cameras seemed to pause. Harry's face had gone rigid, his eyes taking on a dangerous glint, but Sharon wasn't finished. "Let's talk about privilege for a moment, shall we?" Sharon continued, her voice now carrying the full weight of decades in the entertainment industry. "Our viewers need to understand what kind of privilege we're dealing with. You were born into a life billions could only dream of. Private jets, luxury homes, security details, the finest education money can buy. And yet somehow you've managed to paint yourself as the victim in this story." Harry's hands were now fists, his breathing labored. The other hosts were frozen, realizing they were witnessing a moment that would dominate headlines. "Victim?" Harry's voice cracked slightly. "You think this is about playing the victim? This is about protecting my family from the same machine that killed my mother. This is about refusing to let history repeat itself, while people like you sit in your ivory towers and judge situations you couldn't possibly understand." The mention of Princess Diana sent a visible shockwave through the studio. Sharon momentarily faltered, but only to double down. "Don't you dare," she whispered, dangerous and calculated, "invoke your mother's memory to justify your betrayal of everything she believed in. Diana may have had her issues with the royal family, but she never abandoned her duty. She never ran away to California to make Netflix documentaries and write tell-all books for profit." Harry shot to his feet so quickly his chair nearly toppled backward. Security tensed, unsure whether this was a dramatic gesture or something more serious. "How dare you speak about my mother?" Harry shouted. "You didn't know her! You don't know what she went through, what she sacrificed, or what she would have wanted for her sons." Sharon remained seated, calm and calculating. She had broken through Harry's public persona, exposing the raw, unfiltered emotion beneath. "I know she wouldn't have wanted her son to become a professional victim," Sharon said coldly. "I know she wouldn't have wanted you to abandon your responsibilities and turn your family's private life into a public brand. And I certainly know she wouldn't have wanted you to use her memory as a shield every time someone calls you out on your choices." The words hit Harry like physical blows. His face cycled through rage, hurt, disbelief, and something close to despair. "You're crossing a line here, Sharon," one of the co-hosts interjected, voice shaky. "Maybe we should take a commercial break." "No," Sharon cut her off without looking. "Our viewers deserve the truth instead of the sanitized version your PR team usually serves up. They deserve to know what kind of man abandons his family, his country, and his duty because things got a little difficult." Harry's composure shattered completely. "Difficult? You call watching my wife being systematically destroyed by the British press difficult? You call having my newborn son's security threatened difficult? You call being told my mixed-race children wouldn't be entitled to the same protections as other royal grandchildren difficult?" Sharon's next comment pushed him further. "So now we're playing the race card. When all else fails, you fall back on accusations of racism. It's the oldest trick in the victim playbook." "You're unbelievable," Harry whispered, voice venomous. "You sit there in privilege, having never endured what my family has, and you dismiss our experiences as a game." Sharon leaned back, satisfied. She had goaded Harry into revealing more than ever intended. "I'm stating facts," Sharon said. "You had everything and threw it away. Instead of working within the system, you burned it down and profited from the ashes. And now you justify those choices by painting yourself and your family as victims." Harry stood frozen, chest heaving, hands trembling. Cameras captured every flicker of emotion. Sharon had one final weapon. "You know what's most disturbing, Harry?" she said, mock concern in her voice. "It's not just that you abandoned your family and country. It's that you weaponized your trauma, commodified your pain, and turned your mother's death into a brand. You've built an entire industry around being Princess Diana's grieving son, and frankly, it's grotesque." The accusation struck Harry like lightning. His face went pale, then flushed red with rage. "Stop!" he said, voice barely above a whisper but warning enough to silence the room. Just stop talking. But Sharon pressed on. Diana's death was a tragedy that touched the world, she continued, but you turned it into your meal ticket. Every interview, every documentary, every book deal, it all comes back to your mother's death and how it affected little Harry. You've made millions off her memory and lecture others about exploitation. The studio erupted. Harry's security moved closer, sensing the breaking point. You're sick, Harry shouted, tears streaming. To accuse me of profiting from my mother's death, she died when I was 12, is inhuman. Sharon remained unmoved. I'm stating facts. Every major decision you've made since leaving the royal family has centered on your mother's story. Harry's expression hardened, hurt replaced by cold calculation. You want to know about my mother? He said, voice steady. She spent her last years being hunted by photographers. She died in Paris because she was treated like a commodity. And now I'm sitting across from someone doing the same thing. You're exploiting tragedy for ratings. You're everything that was wrong with the system that killed her. For the first time, Sharon looked unsettled. The difference, Harry continued, gaining strength, is that when I share my story, I'm trying to prevent others from going through what my family went through. When you exploit it, you feed the same machine that destroyed her. Sharon opened her mouth, but Harry cut her off. I'm done, he said, removing his microphone and walking away. I'm done with this conversation, this show, and people like you who think decency is optional for ratings. He paused, looked back, exhausted. The real tragedy, Sharon, is that you had a chance to talk about real issues that matter to real people. Instead, you turned it into a circus for your own amusement. With that, Prince Harry walked off the set, leaving stunned silence. Sharon had won a ratings victory, but at a cost that was only beginning to be clear. The confrontation would be remembered, dissected, and debated for years. Sharon Osbourne had destroyed Prince Harry on live television, but in doing so, she revealed just how far she was willing to go for entertainment. And that revelation would follow her for the rest of her career. As the studio lights dimmed and the crew began to pack up their equipment, one thing was certain. This was a confrontation that would be remembered, analyzed, and debated for years to come. Sharon Osbourne had destroyed Prince Harry on live television, but in doing so, she had also destroyed something in herself that could never be rebuilt.